Welcome to You Are History, Ohio Edition, a captivating series of interviews that spotlight the influential voices and impactful stories of Black leaders hailing from the vibrant state of Ohio. In this exclusive series, we delve into the lives, achievements, and experiences of trailblazing individuals who leave an indelible mark on their communities and beyond. Through engaging conversations and profound insights, we uncover these exceptional Ohio-based influencers' unique perspectives, challenges, and triumphs, showcasing the dynamic contributions of Black excellence in the Buckeye State. Join us on this enlightening journey as we honor these remarkable individuals' legacy, resilience, and innovation, affirming that in Ohio, as in the broader tapestry of history, they are not just making history, they are history. Don't forget to like, share, and comment where you're watching.
I don't need to do that. Okay. All right.
I have with me a friend of mine who actually is probably the reason why I'm in radio and the reason why I'm in politics. And his name is Herman Hill. And Herman Hill is the executive director of which housing authority in
Akron Metropolitan Housing Authority.
He comes from Youngstown, Ohio, from I believe, the north side.
Oh, you got to know that. If you know me, you know I'm a north sider through and through.
I believe you are an Ursuline graduate?
Oh, my goodness. Now, Trace, you're not going to start this program off offending me, are you? Oh, my goodness. I'm a Tiger through and through. D-Ran School, 1986.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
My goodness. Well, if you know me, you got to know that. If you don't know anything else.
You know I'm old.
Yeah, we're all getting there. My dad used to tell me to just keep living.
And the reason why we're doing this interview is because I find out that history that comes out of the person's mouth is history that is true.
Mm-hmm.
History, when I go to tell it, it gets a little flawed. Like I got you the wrong school. And some things are well intended, but we get it wrong. And as people of color, as African Americans, as Black folk, we are losing our history. We're losing the names of the people who made us great, and we're getting a new history coming in from someone else's view. Mm-hmm. So we were raised in a village. Herman, I'm going to my interview prior to you is Reverend Pettis, mm-hmm. Mount Zion Church. Mm-hmm. I believe we spoke there years ago.
Yeah, I was a member of my family and I were a member of Mount Zion Baptist Church at 827 Wilson Avenue for many, many years. My dad was a deacon. My mom was a deaconess, and participated in church functions and activities for a very, very long time under, Reverend Clark, and then Reverend Walker and Pastor Pettis have been there probably for the last, I would say probably 30 years, maybe. I know it's somewhere between 25 and 30 years. And so I know Pastor Pettis very well.
And that's what I mean. Look at the history there. And it's shaped who you are. That is your history.
Correct. Part of it.
And that is Black history. Mm-hmm. And so let's talk about your mom and dad and your brothers and sisters and how Herman Hill was. How did you get here? Because you're a pretty impressive man.
I don't think of myself that way.
You're not supposed to.
But I was raised. I was the youngest of 6 children. My dad and mom were married, I believe, sometime in 1955. Stayed together, married until my dad passed away in 1997. And I'm fortunate enough to still have my mom. She's 89 years old, and she's dealing with some, health issues like any other normal 89-year-old, person does. But I'm so grateful to have her, to be able to interact and communicate with her regularly. And, she tells a lot of, jokes but, it was one of the situations where, I had 5 brothers and sisters, 3, or at least 2 of them are, well, not least, but two of them are still with us. 3, past my brother, who's closer to my age. He would be about 61 or 62. He passed in February. And so we had a close-knit family. We were raised on Oxford Avenue on the north side, which is, a few streets up from the former St. Elizabeth Hospital, which now I think is Mercy Medical, if I'm not mistaken. But we were raised on the North Side. We all graduated from the Rand School, and
So, well, no, you didn't. Hold on. But what was it like? You said you were the baby, and so you were born
say
in.
it one more time. I'm sorry.
What was that like? You were the baby. You were being raised in the '70s in Youngstown, Ohio.
Well, my next youngest sibling was my brother Randy, who was born in 1961. So there was a 6 year difference. So as I was being raised, my older sisters and other older sister and brothers were sort of leaving, they left the house when they were 18, 19 years old to relocated to Atlanta or went to college, so on and so forth. So it was just my brother and I. When he was a senior, I was in the sixth grade, basically. So when he left, he moved to Atlanta the summer that he graduated in, I think it was 1980, and never came back to Youngstown to live. And so I was in the household with my mom and dad, for 6 years, until I went on to college in Canton, Ohio. I attended Malone College and played basketball there. So, but we were a close knit family.
What was
Um,
school like? What was school like? What was your day like? What was different? What do you, I mean? Right now, you've got some beautiful young ladies and a young man as children,
mhm.
and the world is different from when we went to school. And so, since the world is different, what was it like in your environment at that time? What was your day like?
Well, we basically grew up in a neighborhood. So when we had, all of us who grew up in the same neighborhood basically went to the same school. We walked to school together every day, from Jefferson to Hayes Junior High to the Rand School, and so it was more of a communal, if you will, um, environment where, I mean, I can just walk across the street, visit a friend, walk, maybe one or two or three, four streets to visit some other friends, and it was more of a. And then all of the houses that were in our community. I mean, you had families in those homes. It's no longer that way because a lot of the homes have been demolished for whatever reason, and so. At the time that I came up, there were what, 5 or 6 high schools in Youngstown. There are two now, at least city schools, and so it was just a different. It was more populated. It was more about the community and really families living, together in one, in one area, and it was a great experience for me, obviously a great experience for my siblings and all of my friends, because we were able to develop these strong bond and be companions and really thrive as young folk.
Now, Herman, you went to Malone College in Kent or
In
Canton,
Canton, correct.
and then you came back to Youngstown.
Well, I went to Malone, transferred from Malone to Kent State University. I graduated from Kent, and then I came back home and I worked, for a number of organizations, and then I went back to earn my master's degree in public administration while I was working at the Youngstown Metropolitan Housing Authority under the leadership of Eugenia Atkinson.
So now, let me ask you this. Let me go back a little bit. You had a good relationship with Mrs. Um, Wilbur, Wilford. Mrs.
Mildred Payne.
Mildred Payne.
Oh my goodness, yes, absolutely.
So Mildred Payne was an East Sider.
hmm
How did that work out? Because
Well, I worked for her. My one of my well, I wouldn't say my first job, but what got me on this public housing track was I had a summer job with the Youngstown Metropolitan Housing Authority, and Mrs. Payne was my supervisor there. It was a program called Youth Enjoying Life and Learning. It was a summer, program, and we took public housing residents to on field trips, and Mrs. Payne was my supervisor, and she taught me a lot during that, um, during that period of time that I worked for the housing authority, at least during that summer.
So you went to Youngstown City Schools, went
Mm-hmm.
to the Rand,
Mm-hmm.
you went to college.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what was different about your life than people that were around you that made you more disciplined, should I say, or have a different function of academics?
Well, probably the two-parent family I was raised in. My dad always wanted me to go to college. That was his vision, for me. I always struggle between being raised in I guess, a two-parent family and the environment I was in too. So it was always somewhat of a struggle. And I think the stability that I was given, or that my dad offered, um, help kind of keep me on sort of the right path. And that's why it's so important, that fathers take an active role in their you know children lives, because it does make a difference. I could have easily went the other way, but because he was a praying man, he was supportive, a supportive father, a good husband, did a good job raising his family, worked every day. So there were examples that I had in my household that I wanted to emulate. And he certainly didn't have a high school education, but he worked so hard every single day. And so I saw that, daily, that work ethic. And that's where I get my work ethic, from. And he always wanted me to go to college. And I certainly, um, um, you know, um, wasn't going to let him down. And I'm glad that I made that decision.
So you went to college and you moved back to Youngstown. Um, why come back home? Because at the time when you came back, Youngstown wasn't, we weren't thriving then. Downtown was a ghost town. As a matter of fact, how I got into radio is you needed somebody to sit in for you on a Thursday
Right.
afternoon or Thursday morning
Right. Right.
so you could take a class.
Right. Right.
And you asked me, well, you just
Right.
go ahead and sit in. Oh, yeah, just go and sit in for me. And I did. And that's how I got here. So tell me.
It was my love for the city. That's where I was raised. That's where I received, my sort of my training. Um, and I just felt that it was an obligation I had to the community that sort of, raised me and supported me. And I felt that, uh, you know, I was obligated to try to give back to the community who invested so much in my growth and development.
So, mentors, who we know your mom and dad did.
Hmm.
We know the pastors did.
Hmm.
We know, but who else actually came into your life and helped you mm, navigate your way?
Oh my goodness, so many people. You get in trouble when you start naming folk. But we mentioned, Mrs. Payne. Certainly, she was a supervisor. She was a professional. She was an expert in resident services. So she kind of steered me in the right direction, professionally. Um, and I would say my coaches, Chester Leone, Andrew Lau, Mr. Lau, who I played little league football for. And then as I um, went to Rand, it was Coach Phil House, Frank Sigletti. And so they played a very instrumental role in my growth and development, and kind of provided the stability I needed outside of my household. And again, I feel like, I've made some mistakes over the years, but my dad trained me to be a certain way. I didn't always listen, but I got back on the right track, and I never departed from, you know, how my dad trained me, and these other people really guided and showed me showed me the way. So I
L-
certainly appreciate,
l-
those mentors. I mean, obviously Eugenia Atkinson, Dickie Atkinson. I got my first political experience with Dickie when he ran for third ward councilman against George McKelvey. I was probably 11 or 12 at the time, and me, Kevin Madison, his nephew Derek Atkinson, we all volunteered for his campaign. So that was my introduction into politics, was through Dickie Atkinson at the age of 11 or 12. So I had it in me. I think they saw something in me, and I'm happy that it turned out in my best interest.
I'm a person who is a believer in Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bible says that all things work together to the good of them that love God and to them that are called according to his purpose. And we arrive in this location by our life's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And in our life's journey, we have ups and downs and ebbs and flows.
Mm-hmm.
Recovery, forgiveness, second chances. If you look at our young people today, the world is very unforgiving. And we all act like we don't make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to say to people when they feel as though they can't make it?
Well, I think for me, you always have to be in prayer about what you want for your life or your situation. You got to put the work in, and you got to be persistent. No matter what people say or think, you got to believe in you. And I think if you stay in prayer, be persistent, work hard, then there will be people placed in your life that will forgive you, that will give you a second, sometimes a third chance, and help you get on the right path. Because there are some wonderful human beings that I've been associated with, who have given me opportunities, and I think it's important that and also I think patience is a virtue. Sometimes when you're confronted with with issues, you feel like you can solve those issues literally right now. It doesn't happen that way, but you gotta get on the sort of the right path, and believe that you can turn things around. And I think the thing that helped me was just having my parents constantly praying for me constantly praying for myself, and really just working hard and sort of staying focused.
Because I look today, people are getting canceled over some crazy stuff. And for some reason, it's always easy to point fingers. And people think they know the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't. No one knows the whole story except for the people who are going through it at that time. And we need to lighten up a little bit, because I think that's where the pressure is coming on our youth, because they feel as though they can't make mistakes, they can't fall down.
Mm-hmm.
And we all make mistakes. We all fall. Everybody.
Right. That's right.
Sometimes you get exposed, sometimes you don't.
Right.
And I'm looking at our youth today of all walks. They're having a hard time because they're walking tightropes, whether it's getting pregnant too early by the wrong one, or going, and with the wrong people to the wrong place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there is no. We had comfort. The police took us home when we messed up. I'm getting ready to interview Delphine Baldwin Casey.
Oh, tell her I said hello.
In doing them, and they took us home. They called my mother. Our young people today don't have any of that. The grace is just not there, and I don't know how we extend it to let them stretch outside the confines so that they can find themselves.
Well, based on my experience, I think it starts in the home, and if you don't have a stable home environment, then it makes it that much more difficult for a person outside the home to really have a positive, influence in that person's life. Now, again, we do have situations where, people who are, raised in single family homes are successful, they go on to thrive, but we do have a lot who don't. And so I always go back to what I know and what helped me, and use that as an example of what could kind of raise all of our families up. Um, and I think it's about, men stepping up to take care of their children and families, and caring, for their wives if they're married, or their significant others. And I think we have a responsibility to step up and make decisions that we think are in best interests of everyone that we're to some extent responsible for.
So when you look at Black History Month, and we know Black history is American history, how do you reflect? What do you look at? What do you think about it?
The thing that immediately comes to my mind is slavery. It always does, because that is where it kind of started for us here in America, and obviously we kind of know how that kind of situation turned out, and then we move on to um, slaves being freed, and Jim Crow, and civil rights movement, and all of the different things that have happened since then. So I try to reflect on all of it, and I think the great equalizer for all of us is, in my opinion, is education, whatever the case may be, whether you're a business owner, whether you get an associate degree, a college degree, whatever it may be. I think that is the equalizer. And so when I think about Black history, I think about those pillars in our community, those that I know that blaze a trail, for me. Those are the people that I know, that I trust, that really supported me. And then I look at it from a sort of a macro level. When you think about Medgar Evers and Dr. King, and those who were intimately involved or directly involved, or Reverend Lonnie Simon, people who were directly involved in the civil rights movement, to at least and they help us get to where we are today. So I have never forgotten that. I feel that I'm obligated to support those younger people who are coming up behind me as much as I possibly can, whether it's through advice or through opportunities I may have available, whether it's assistance through some type of program or job, or whatever the case may be. And so I feel like I have to um, listen to what I was taught and apply it to my daily life. So, Black history is important as any other, um, you know, uh, ethnic, or history of whether it's Caucasians or Hispanics, or whatever the case may be. Our history is just as important and relevant in these United States.
Well, you know what I found out, Herman, and the reason why I'm doing this project is we don't realize that we are history.
I do. I
You are
do.
history.
Hmm.
You have made history, and you have made a mark in a positive way on a lot of lives here in the city of Youngstown and across the state of Ohio, whether indirectly or directly, because you may not know that. And we don't know how, we haven't told the story of how to emulate success, the nuggets.
Hmm.
And we need to share them again so that our children can begin to build those stairs so that they can get back to family, back to cohabitating again,
Hmm. Hmm.
and looking in the mirror and appreciating who we are for who we are.
Correct. I agree. I mean, it's hard work. I mean, it's hard work raising a kid. It's hard, it's hard work when you marry. I mean, it's hard work, working, every day to take care of your family. And no one ever said it was going to be easy. And there are a lot of, great men, great women, great families, in Youngstown doing the right thing, grinding every day. And so those folks, are doing what they got to do to make, life better for their families. And so, certainly we want to just, applaud them, for all that they do. And those who fall short, and we all fall short, sometimes we got to do better. And so when you know better, you do better. And so we got to continue to be examples for those who have fallen short, because we've fallen short. And someone picked this up, so we feel like, or I feel like, we should pick others up. So I'm trying to do those type of things here, in Akron, which is obviously 45, 50 minutes away from Youngstown.
But now, Herman, you come home often. Your mom is here, and I blaze the streets, and every time I turn around, you and your wife are sitting somewhere in Youngstown. So I appreciate you coming home and waving at us every now and then.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean,
Um,
I love my hometown. I love being, working here, at the Akron Metropolitan Housing Authority. We're doing a lot of big, big things, and
so what do you do? Tell us what you're doing in Akron, because this is statewide. We're sending this to everyone in the state so people know who everyone is.
I'm the executive director of the Akron Metropolitan Housing Authority. I've been here for about 21 months. We are the fourth largest housing authority in the state of Ohio. We have a budget of 90 million, 250 full-time staff, and 125 part-time staff, which comprise of officers, police officers who patrol our developments in Barberton, Akron, and in Cuyahoga, Falls. And just like any other housing authority in Ohio, I'm governed by a board of commissioners, and each commissioner, or two commissioners, five. I'm sorry. There's a total of five commissioners. Two of them are appointed by the mayor. One is appointed by the county executive / county council. One is appointed by the probate judge, and one is appointed by the common pleas court. And so, in speaking of Black history, the chair of the board is Marco Somerville, who was a high-ranking city official for a number of years. He also served as a president of council. He also is the cousin to Dickie and Eugenia Atkinson, which it's amazing how things come full circle. So Marco is the chair of my board. I currently have 7 direct reports, and those directors report to me, and they oversee our operations. Currently have about 4,500 public housing units in 5 communities here in Summit County: Twinsburg, Stowe, Cuyahoga Falls, Barberton, and Akron. And we administer about 5,500 Section 8 vouchers. So the impact that we have in Akron is huge. We serve close to 25,000 individuals through our housing and resident service programs. And I'm happy to be here and have the support of the community. What's interesting about Akron? Akron is 45 minutes away, Tracy, and I'm blown away by the level of collaboration of nonprofits, government, for-profit entities. It's just unbelievable. And then we look at elected officials. I mean, and maybe you know this, maybe not, but I'm going to share it with you. We have a Black female congresswoman, Amelia Sykes. We have a Black state senator, a Black state representative. We have 2 Black common pleas judges. We have, I think, 2 to 3 municipal court judges, and and it's just and then we have our first um, uh, minority mayor. He's of Indian descent, but he's a good, smart young man. He's 32 years old, a Harvard graduate. And so, when you think about and you compare and contrast, Mahoney County and Summit County, Mahoney County is way behind when it comes to supporting African American, officials for countywide positions, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, doesn't matter. And the other thing I think is very important, that every judge on the common pleas court level is a female. Yes, the sheriff is a female.
Wow.
And so, and I think there's some lessons to be learned, from Summit County and Akron, and the progression of this area in comparison to Youngstown is like, I don't even know if I say it's night and day. I mean, I don't. It's really no
comparison.
No comparison. No comparison.
I'd like to see Youngstown to become a diverse town. I don't want to see all anything.
Right. Well, I think Youngstown. You don't think Youngstown is diverse?
No, we're not. Youngstown's not diverse, and neither is the state of Ohio. We have pockets of diversity, but as far as a melting pot that doesn't compete against each other but collaborates with each other,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're there, because we're still polarized in a lot of ways here, as with the state of Ohio. And I'm praying that as we go forward with um, projects of information, because you said education is important, but I take that to a step of information.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Information is power.
Right.
And one thing that we don't have is good information getting out to everyone so that they can have access to the resources that they need. If we can ever solve that problem, I think we'll be further ahead politically as well as socially.
Right. Well, the information is available. It's just a matter of,
You got to know where to find
if
it.
people are willing to read it, understand it, and then apply their knowledge. And I think the information, whatever we want to know, is out there. It's just a matter of people being interested in that particular subject matter, reading it, and then doing something, taking some action.
Herman, I think we become more lazy. Cell phones, contact lists. You and I no longer know each other's phone numbers.
Right.
If you ask your mom phone numbers, they still know phone numbers. We have
Right.
no clue. And because we are dealing more with, we don't read as much.
Mm-hmm.
And to seek things out is hard. It's work. And as you said, anything worth having, you got to work for.
Mm-hmm.
Finding out information is hard work, because you got to dig. You got to put some effort in, and a lot of people don't want to put effort into something that they
Well,
don't know.
you can Google. You can. I mean, there are a lot of different avenues to dig.
You got to know what to ask.
It's not just
AI.
going to the library.
It's funny, Herman. AI, but you still got to know what to ask them.
Right.
If you don't know what to ask, it'll never spit it out. And what's happening, I think, especially when it comes to black folks, we don't know we don't know what to ask.
Right.
I don't. I mean, what I don't know how to. I don't know how to become Herman Hill. I don't know how to become a better dad because I've never seen one. I don't know how to become a better mom because I don't know what that is.
Right. Right.
I don't know how to fold my
We
clothes.
have examples, but Trace, we got examples all around us, though. I mean, there are multiple. I mean, there are great fathers, there are great mothers, there are great families.
Yeah, but they don't see
we
the
can
hard
emulate.
work. We don't see the hard work. I mean, you and your wife have been married how long?
Oh my goodness, it'll be 20 years this year.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, sure. She would tell you the same thing.
I know she would. That's what I'm saying. And when you
Right.
look, that's a lot of work. You have how many children?
4.
That's a lot of work.
And two grandchildren.
That's a lot of work. And I applaud you for what you've done and how you're impacting the state of Ohio, how you're impacting Akron, how you're spreading Youngstown love across the state. I appreciate that. But and you're a history maker.
Well, I don't look at myself that way, but I feel like I'm trying to just do the right thing, make an impact where I am, try to be a good example for my children and my family, and be a good husband, and continue to do the right thing and lead this agency um, as I know how. I've been sort of in this public housing space for some time now, a total of 20 years, and been an executive director, for the last, oh my goodness, it's been what, 12 years, close to 12 years now, between Michigan and Akron. So it'll be almost my 13th year being an executive director.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So, in closing comments, if you wanted one thing for people to know about Herman Hill, what do you want them to remember?
Oh my goodness, one thing about Herman Hill, um, that I treat everyone with dignity and respect.
So you want to be known for dignity and respect.
That I treat everyone with dignity and respect. Yeah, that's sort of my mantra. That's the way I lead this organization. That no matter who we come in contact with, whatever the situation is, we treat everyone with dignity and respect, no matter what. And I think that if if we sort of duplicated that sort of mindset, if you will, across the United States, I think we'll live in a because we can agree to disagree all day, but when it becomes disrespectful, demeaning, then that's when people get angry and things start happening. But when someone approaches me about a situation, is let me try to understand, let me listen to what you're going through, because I'm pretty sure that if I listen, I can probably help you better, or help you quicker, or whatever the case may be, to resolve that particular issue. So I always take that approach when I get phone calls from residents all the time. It's like, okay, let me listen, and I think we can resolve. I think we can solve this issue for you. And I think when you treat everyone with dignity and respect, you break down those barriers that typically cause friction between people. And you got to just learn how to listen. And I think I mastered that, and I'm leading like I was sort of raised, if you will. So it's a great it's great, to be here and serving in this capacity. But I always remember that I got my foundation from the Yo.
Hey, Herman, what's your hobby? Have you picked it up?
Hmm, my hobby, yeah. I think my hobby. I like basketball. I don't play anymore. I like watching, basketball. My wife and I have recently, I would say recently, we've gone to concerts and entertainment, things, but we enjoy doing that, and I enjoy watching my son play basketball as well. So, I mean, we'll pick up and just go to a game, and we'll watch some high school students we don't know just because we enjoy the game. So,
Because y'all young people and sit on them hard seats in them high school gymnasiums because y'all
right.
still young.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, it was a little
How old is
different.
your son now?
Which one?
Your youngest.
My youngest is 15. My oldest son is 18. He attends Ohio State University, and I have two daughters. One is 29. The other one is 28, and then I have two grandchildren. One is 2. The other one will be he's 8, and he'll be 9 in May.
Hey, Herman, do you mind if I ask you before I let you go about your years on Youngstown City Council?
Oh, I don't care. Yeah.
Can I ask you about, can we talk about the personalities? Because those people I can't interview.
You can't. You say you can't interview.
I can't interview Mr. Jennings. I can't interview because they're not
Oh, you mean past members? Okay,
past
okay,
members.
okay.
And they were some characters, and you sat with them. And there's a lot that foundation cities build. It's like a building block. So sometimes they get it right and sometimes they get it wrong in different administrations. But what you see now is a building of what we've seen in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were pre the Cavelli Center. You were before that.
Mm-hmm.
But you were there when Mr. Fortune, Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Jennings,
Mm-hmm.
Dickie Atkinson.
Well, Dickie wasn't a Dickie was my successor.
Okay, so
So it
who
was
was there when you were there?
it was Charles Ellis who was on council at the time.
So the dynamic of council then and the dynamic of council now is totally different.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about the synergy of the room then versus what you see of the politics of the rooms today.
I really don't know. I mean, I read
I'm talking
Vinny.
about looking back in, not just. I'm just talking about while you were there. What was different then than it is now? Besides
That's a
Mr.
good.
Jennings could smoke.
I think the lived experience of Bob Jennings and Jim Fortune. They grew up in a different time period, so their experiences were different. Um, they really led council with a lot of passion, a lot of acknowledgement of sort of the recognition of the past, and they were fully vested in the community, in their communities, in city politics, and they were just giants, if you will. We can't leave out Pete Starks. I didn't get a
I
chance
was
to
going to
serve
ask
with
you.
him,
I got to mention
but
Pete.
Pete, I had an opportunity to be in the presence of all of those gentlemen, and they were class acts. I mean, they're no different than me or anyone else when it comes to being imperfect. But whatever the case may be, they genuinely cared about Youngstown, the employees of Youngstown, and they demonstrated that time and time again. They were very wise, very deliberate, and I really learned a lot from Bob and Jim and Pete and all of the those who came before for us, whether it's Arley Gaywood or Isidore Blakeney. I mean, all of those, and then they weren't involved in politics, but they were to some extent. They weren't elected officials.
They didn't have
They
to be
were
elected. They just controlled stuff.
right. They were fully engaged, very knowledgeable about politics and yeah. So and I'm thinking, I think that if I would give any advice to any of the current council members, I mean, it would be to just know, about those who served in those positions, what they were able to accomplish, and I think that, and it's great that these younger council members have good, new ideas, ideas to move our community forward. So we certainly want to support them, in that effort. But again, just to make sure and acknowledge those who made a difference, and a lot of things as it relates to Youngstown and the economy. I mean, you can't really blame it on elected officials, because when the steel mills closed, back in the late 70s, that decimated our town, and we've never ever been able to recover, from from that. I'm encouraged that I think Cleveland Clinic purchased the Northside Hospital. That's what I heard. I'm encouraged by that, and I just think that we need to continue to celebrate and acknowledge our small wins there, and also acknowledge that Youngstown will never be like Youngstown used to be. Okay, so at one point, I think in the 40s or 50s, we had about 160,000 people. I mean, we're never gonna get back there, and so um, you know, whatever capacity we have, we need to whatever we need to do to maximize, um, you know, um, you know, to put Youngstown on a different path, if you will, I think we just need to do. But I think at some point, we need to figure out, how do we get people back to the city? How do we develop and build new homes so we can get families, wanting to move back to Youngstown? I don't know. I mean, those are a lot of difficult situations. So our current members of council and the mayor obviously got a lot of work to do, got a lot of problems to solve. And I believe they're up to the task, even though I don't know many of them. But I believe that my assumption is that and I know the mayor is, want to do the right thing. Again, everybody's not going to agree with, politics of certain matters, but whatever the case may be, I believe that they have Youngstown's best interest.
Well, and I'll say this, and I say this sincerely. Um, in my experiences, as I've lived through this last 30 years, I wish that things could have been different, because the men of your vision and of your stature that have left the city and thrived administratively, we've allowed to slip through our hands often. And what's happening with that is, when you allow the best people to go and thrive other places, you leave people behind. And Youngstown's going to have to learn how to cover and support um, their their children, because we have some of the best people born and raised in the state of Ohio here in Youngstown, Ohio. We just haven't learned how to keep them home and allow them to grow here. And I say that with all sincerity, because I met you when you were a councilman, and I wish you could have been able to see your vision through, because I think you had a heart and the wherewithal to get a whole lot more done differently, because you had the grit to get it done. But we didn't have the infrastructure and the support to help you make it through.
Well, Tracy, I look at it as though it happened the way it happened, the way it was supposed.
It was, but in hindsight, when I don't do that too much of that. But when I say that, when I look at how things have laid out, we've got some great people in office. We have some wonderful people who have been in office. But during that time, it was pivotal. And the pivot would have been on a trajectory that would have been more inclusive than it would have been as polarizing as the city still is today. And so I say that as a compliment to you, because we never know what God has in store for you in the future.
That's true.
But I will say that you have been a great leader, and I appreciate you.
All right, well, I certainly appreciate this opportunity to speak with you today. I love my hometown, always will.
We love you too.
And I'll be in touch.
All right, God bless.
All right, thank you. All right, bye-bye.
We extend our heartfelt gratitude to each viewer who has joined us on this journey through your history. Suppose you have found inspiration, insight, and connection in the stories shared by our remarkable guests. In that case, we invite you to consider supporting the continuation of community programming like this through a donation. Your contribution will help us amplify diverse voices, celebrate rich histories, and foster meaningful dialogue that uplifts and unites us all. We also extend a special thank you to our sponsors, whose generous support has made this series possible. May You Are History continue to resonate in your hearts and minds, inspiring you to embrace the beauty of diversity and the power of unity. Thank you for being a part of this transformative journey, and we look forward to welcoming you back for more engaging and enlightening content in the future. Don't forget to like and share this video, subscribe to this channel, and give God the glory.